lover and a nerd. I think that's what most of us like to consider ourselves. That's all very nice, but what are we going to actually talk about that you're interested in? Well, we're going to talk about cloud technology and how it actually affects my job, and how it affects my job and affects your job. We're going to talk about awesome, but does it DevOps? Because everyone's talking about DevOps now, so how does that all fit in there? And do you have any tips on software-defined axe wielding? How can I learn to wield the axe rather than just wait for it? So hopefully we can have some time for that. And we're going to do that all in the next 20 minutes. So that's quite a tall order. So cloud technology and how it affects my job and probably yours. A job that I did a couple of years ago, what I told people that I did in that job was I said, hey, I'm a Linux build team leader. I've got 8 guys working for me. We do Oracle Linux on VMware. We've got 3,000 hosts. National infrastructure. If our systems go down, the United Kingdom's GDP takes a hit that month. Cool. What I really did. 50% of my time I chased free IPs. 20% I explained why the project infra was late. I spent 20% of the time explaining why it was broken. Spent another 32% fixing broken project infrastructure. Spent 9.8% of my time refactoring the IP spreadsheet. 0.2% reading the register. Does everybody reads the register?
Yeah.
Glad to hear it. Okay, and I spent 0% of my time automating system deployment, which was a bit of a shame. Chasing free IPs. We had a tool for finding free IPs in the network. It's an enterprise, 2,000 users, UK national infrastructure. We use Nmap for finding free IPs. I don't know if anyone uses that tool. Nice database. Boring. Okay, so one time when I was reading the register, and I read an article 2.5 years ago by one of their journalists called Trevor Pott. He's a really good, follow his articles.
Well, he's left, hasn't he?
Well, he wrote an article like 2 days ago, so.
Oh, so he's still there.
But I don't know whether he actually works for them or he just writes articles for them.
No,
He's probably a freelance.
The register kicked out a few people, I think.
Yeah. Well, he's still writing articles for them. But this one was 2.5 years ago, and I was reading that, and I just typed Nmap and waited to find out if there were any free IP addresses, and quickly had a read of the register. And he'd written this article, sysadmins to DevOps job migrations, and I thought, wait a minute, he's talking about my job. He's saying that in very short amount of time, the work that you're doing all the day, when you want to be doing cool work and automating stuff, but you're not, because you're searching free IP addresses and telling projects why they're not getting their infrastructure in time. That all won't be there anymore. So cloud technology is going to take away the boring stuff. Networking, mostly automated, just the big stuff, just a few 10 gigabit. The rest, all cloud. Storage allocation, all done for you. In that particular job, with the whole storage team, we'd go and see the storage team and say, guys, we need a volume. And, a couple of weeks you'd have your volume done. With cloud, that's all gone. Operating system installs, updates, don't need to do that anymore. Project setups, the project comes along and says, oh, we need JBoss server, we need Oracle and stuff. No, self-service. Jenkins, select, I want 2 Apache servers, 3 Nginx, load balancer, whatever, so much storage. They just choose it themselves. No more boring stuff. Which might be a bad thing if your job is to do the boring stuff. And this is very small, so what I actually say here, just some stuff about what is this cloud thing anyway, software-defined everything. So you've got software-defined hosts, which we all know, software-defined networks, software-defined storage, software-defined data center. Vendors are providing Chef, Puppet, and everything else interfaces into their hardware. So no more. It's not that you've got 1,000 different admin interfaces for every little bit of software you've just got Chef scripts. So Cisco and EMC and everybody else You know, you can just update your networks, routers, switches with a Chef or a Puppet script.
Or Ansible.
Ansible.
Yeah, hey, nothing wrong with Ansible, but I hear a lot for the big stuff. It's still Puppet and Chef, I would say right now. But you know, Ansible all the way, great. And this all versioned in your Git repository, so it's not just that you know, everyone's there for the weekend and click and it works or it doesn't work. You know, you see this all in your Git repo, and if you have to go back, just move back a version. So what's the is this really happening? You know, we can all say this is great, but is it actually happening? Well, yes. Cloud revenues, again, got from the register. Year on year, cloud revenues are up 28%, and that's got to come from somewhere. AWS, 95% year on year increases. That's the job that I used to do, is now going to AWS. And if they're expanding that fast, my job is declining that fast. Take Exchange. If you were to make a new enterprise, if you had a company of 100 people or 200 people that just suddenly got out of the ground, would you install Exchange servers?
Yes. Never did.
My job used to be, for 2 years I was an Exchange admin. That was my only job, exchanging a bit about Windows, but I was an Exchange admin. That job doesn't, well, there'll be some legacy, but there's no new Exchange setups being made that I know of.
You don't want to be in control of your own data.
Sorry?
You don't want to be in control of your own data.
Okay, so there's certain companies who need that, and they should have their own environments now. But Amazon wouldn't be Amazon, and Microsoft wouldn't be Microsoft if they weren't coming up with plans to bring the axe along. AT&T, you may have heard of them. They sort of invented the telephone. They have a lot of networks. If you phone one of your friends in America and he picks up, and at any point it's gone through AT&T, 50% of the network nodes are OpenStack. Software-defined networking, OpenStack. That's a lot. That's a big deal. They just announced that last week. We're quite happy about it. Okay, and Microsoft and HP. There was going to be someone from HP here. I don't know if they're here. They've just come out with the worst name for a product ever.
No, that's typically HP.
It's
Change it after a few months.
I actually spent all last night trying to remember this, and I still can't. You know, Eselsbrück, just everything, you know, it didn't work. So I'll read it off here. HPE Hyperconverged 250 for Microsoft CPS standard. What is that? I've decided to call it the Software Defined Job Axe Murderer.
Much easier to remember.
Yeah. Sounds a lot more scary. So what is it? That looks very much like a typical 2U server, and it is. Except, let's just talk a little bit about it, about the HPE Hyperconverged 250 for Microsoft CPS standard. Looks innocent enough. It's got 24 cores, 512 gigabytes, times 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Storage and networking, built-in 20 gigabit network between the nodes. It's factory configured. System Center, okay. HP OneView, Azure Pack, Microsoft Hyper-V. Everyone knows Microsoft Hyper-V. You know what it's called in Windows 2016? Hyper-V in Windows 2016 is called Azure. So getting a bit suspicious here. What this box does is you slide it into your rack. It's fully configured in the factory. It runs Azure Cloud locally, and it runs Azure Cloud for you in the cloud, in the public cloud. So it means that your engineers, they have one interface. So you're running public cloud, you're running local cloud. You say, hey, Exchange, we want that to be local. You say marketing websites, that can be in the cloud. We've got the same admins, so we don't have AWS admins to do the marketing stuff and Microsoft Windows 2016 Exchange admins to do the local stuff. You just say we'll run Exchange locally, and with a different option, with a different drop down, we say that's in the cloud. But hang on a minute, that's my job to do all that stuff. Oh, okay, bye. It's coming along to eat your lunch. It's coming along to play with your dog, steal your lunch, sit in your chair, wear your slippers, or worse, sooner than you expected. But it's not all bad news. But first of all, before we go into the really good news, awesome, but we'll let DevOps. Because everyone's talking about DevOps, how does that fit in? So, just a little bit about DevOps, stuff I all know, but just to go over it again. This is the old world. It worked fine on my laptop. It's your problem that it doesn't work in production. We're doing DevOps because we want faster time to DevOps, agile, everything. We want faster time to market. We want to be able to fail fast. You know, what's the difference between a developer seeing the failure on his workstation versus seeing the failure when it's baked into a circuit board which has got resin over it on a buggy on the moon, finding out that that you've got a bug. So it's cheaper to find it early on. And we are admins or infrastructure guys, but if we start thinking of everything as code, we can start stealing the tools that developers have been using all this time. Because everything's code, we can treat it as code. We can version all the things, which gives us systems that are predictable, efficient, secure, and maintainable. And secure is a big deal because I've had enough talks with the auditors who come and really, really bore the socks off you for 3 days long, asking you all about your system and stuff you've forgotten and who did that, and tell us how. Now you just give them your script. It says, this is how I set up my software system. Suck yourself, my lad. Because what you see in that script is exactly what's running. Now another thing that I like to say is no smoke without fire. People talk about agile, so it's if enterprises that I've known, they get a guy with long hair, come in, get developers completely over. We're going to be agile. We want to be totally agile, which is a good thing on the whole. So the developers are ready to go, they're desperate to work agile, but they sort of really need a DevOps way of working to be able to do the agile stuff. And to do the DevOps style of working, you really need continuous deployment. And to do continuous deployment, you've got to be really clever if you can't do it without cloud. Now, whether that's public cloud or private cloud, you would need some sort of cloud. Quick talk about layers. How I like to talk about it is layer 0, layer 1, layer 2. Everything's software. So we have routers, switches, load balancers, firewalls, servers, and servers where the operating system is provided up to the latest patch level. I like to call that layer 0. And the tools you can use for that are Terraform, or CloudFormation for AWS, or Cloudify, and others. But I really like Terraform because it can do more clouds. If you do CloudFormation, you're basically stuck to Amazon, and if you do Cloudify, I don't like the look of it. So you got layer 0, and the last thing that layer 0 does before it finishes for the day is it starts provisioning layer 1. It gives layer 1 the go ahead. So if we talk about layer 1, we're talking about the software that supports the code that your developer's actually writing. So your databases, application servers, load balancers, that sort of stuff. See that as layer 1. And the layer 1 tools would be like Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Salt, Safe Engine, and even OpenStack Heat. You can use these tools for layer 0. I've seen it done. But I think, for instance, Terraform is much better fit. It does only what it's meant to do, and then hands off to this layer. And this is just a way of thinking about it. There's nothing that says this is layer 1, go and do it. It's just a way to think about it, to keep things separate from each other. And then layer 2 is the actual code that your developers are writing to put it on the system. And tools like that and that's more a thing for the developers. As long as it's 100% automated, then it's up to the developers what they want to use to put the code on systems. But you could use Capistrano, Fing, Gradle, Jenkins, Octopus Deploy, Xavier, expensive. Nolio, even more expensive. Just a little bit about what I'm actually doing. I'm working with Robert. We're at SBS. We're setting up for them a continuous deployment and private cloud environment. We're using Fuel to set up OpenStack. We're using Ceph for the storage. Developer self-service also. and we're setting up the infrastructure that's needed to support agile and continuous deployment. So, do we have any starter tips? Well, yes, I do. First of all, I would suggest to anyone to be cloud agnostic. You know, we're here for a cloud stack day, and OpenStack. We're here for an OpenStack day, but use OpenStack, love OpenStack, but there will be plenty of clients for the ZZ players among us who want you to know Amazon. Get your cloud test lab running here. Clone a known working production environment. So just to go back to this one, spin up your cloud test lab. Sorry, Ruud. Sorry, you, this gentleman here, right here.
Ben,
You.
Ben.
You.
Rens.
Yeah.
Ben.
Your name? Rens. Sorry, Rens. Because I know you from ING. So- Yeah. So what you said was get your hands in the hand in the glide and set up OpenStack by hand. I would very much say yes, do that, but not first. Not first. Take a working cloud stack setup. Get a working OpenStack setup, and then once you've seen it working and you know what it's meant to do, then set it up by hand. It's a very, very enlightening thing to do, to set up OpenStack by hand and actually see it working. Be very pleased with yourself that you've just lost 2 days of your life. But it's a good feeling to, for exactly the reasons that you said, is to get used to it. But I would use a working setup first. Get familiar with continuous deployment, because that's, people really want that these days.
You can do that yourself. Does anybody know your tri-stack? Does it? So-
There's
Stack.
you can also do it, SUSE, you can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it. If you have a system with 8x, and you can, having something functional, see what it looks like or how it works and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Yeah.
So, personally, I got 3-4 houses at home, but that was later. I started doing this on an 8 gigabyte laptop, and a Core i5 processor, and
That's not what I meant.
it works.
On your own environment, but there is for OpenStack, there is an environment available where you can try OpenStack.
Let's get into that.
Ah, okay, sorry. No problem. And where I will start with was do a training, what's cloud anyhow? So you have a lot of guys who are working already for 20 years in their way of doing things, but in cloud, when you go to services-oriented architecture and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty different than what you are used to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just thought throw in some random buzzwords here, just because I've got the slide in the wrong place, but I'll say it now anyway. Everyone know Packer?
Yay!
Packer. Okay, we'll, if we've got time, go back to this one, because this is fun. So Terraform. I use Terraform. Robert uses Terraform. Infrastructure as code. So Terraform here is defined a number of. This is an Nginx host actually, and this is a setup to do layer 0 of a number of Nginx hosts. To change one variable, and I can start at 1, or I change a variable and there's 10. All getting their own IP addresses and DNS registered, and it looks like that. When you do a Terraform apply here, then we get that within a couple of minutes. So that's great.
Terraform is part of this Mitchell HashiCorp.
Yeah, it's from HashiCorp.
I really advise you guys to have a look there, because that is a whole thing, stuff that he made himself, stuff that he borrowed from others. There's Ansible is part of that. And
No,
Terraform is-
no, Ansible not.
Sorry?
Ansible's not from HashiCorp.
I know.
And
He's
it's
using
owned by Red Hat.
We might well be using it, but it's not from HashiCorp.
I know.
Oh.
I know, but he's using it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
So recommendations: build your own OpenStack environment if you've not done it already. Start today. Get hands dirty. Run a proof of concept. And if you're in an enterprise, then just sneak it in. Sneak it in the development environment. Say, guys, I've got something for you. You're going to love it. And just like virtualization back in the day, just sneak it in there. So what your options to actually do this, like what we've just been talking about, you could repurpose your old kit, if you're lucky enough to have it hanging about. You could build your own budget cloud and keep it in your garage. That's what Bus and I did. We've got about 5 servers, bits hanging out each other, and you go to the shop and get memory and motherboards and stuff. Takes a lot of time. Just putting in these sims and then the motherboard doesn't work and you upgrade the motherboard. And you need to be on site to babysit it. So it can be a way of doing it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I actually thought of buying second-hand servers because these days you can actually buy some good second-hand stuff. If you need to know what to get, speak to Robert. He's always watching out for bargains. But even for example, the fuel cluster that we have, it would cost you €5,000 to €6,000 in second-hand kit that's not even got a guarantee, and then €300 a month for hosting costs. So,
Or put it in your garage.
or put it in your garage. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a garage. I live in Amsterdam. Or you could use a public cloud. So why not use AWS? Well, because AWS is no fun, because it's all done already. And we're here on an OpenStack day, and we set this stuff up, so using AWS is not fun. You could use Azure, same as AWS, and it looks nicer. Don't say that it is nicer, it looks nicer. Or these guys, Fuga.io, this is a Dutch OpenStack provider. These guys are great because you have your OpenStack interface, you have APIs to OpenStack, you can do it from your laptop, and you're really starting up OpenStack from home, trying stuff out, but still it's not your own OpenStack. So, unfortunately these guys have fallen off the bottom. No, that's right. This is a company called Packet.net. So I've actually spoken to Packet.net, and for everybody here today, we've got a $25 credit for Packet.net, and they do bare metal hosting. So you could sign up with Packet.net, get bare metal hosts, use the scripts that I've put on GitHub, which you'll see at the end of the presentation. We'll make the presentation available. You could use these, what I've got in GitHub, Terraform scripts, and you'll have in 20 minutes a running OpenStack environment. I'm recommending more stuff. Oh yeah, use Packet.net, bare metal hosting, get your hands on. Right, so what you actually have to do, install Terraform on your laptop, install Git, register with Packet.net, that's the actual promotion URL. Use the voucher supplied, you get an API key, and then you can just follow these instructions. And again, this presentation will get it on the meetup.
Is that a typo? Packet or packer?
Packet.
It's not a typo, no, it's packet.
Packet.net.
And
But
before that,
there's the typo on the screen.
register with packet.
Filtering.
What's that?
The company name.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right.
Because you're thinking they're doing something with networks, but.
No, but it is, it's Packet.net, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
it's Packet.net. This starts up a one node OpenStack cluster, well not cluster, one node OpenStack system. The next steps are to make a script to do multi-node. Because again, not really want to go on about these guys, how great they are, but they do some really cool stuff. $1.70 an hour for 128 gig, 20 gigabits per second, all SSD machines. You can do a lot with that. So multi-node OpenStack. Set up a CI/CD environment. Be the new Amazon. So a couple of shouts is to Fairbanks. Thanks very much for having us and for pizza later on. Shouts to SBS for employing us. Shouts to Robert for putting up with me in the same room. Boss. And Sugar Phyllis for the camera. Thanks guys. Demos. So, creation complete. But what have we just completed? This started when I typed in the command at start. Okay, what have we got here? Yep. Nearly done. Feel it.
Yeah, it's the first time Horizon starts as always a problem.
Hey, check it out. fully working, provisioned OpenStack environment with one line. So check out packet.net and my GitHub page, and you can have your own OpenStack running to screw about with as you like.
I don't think this is Hon in the cloud. I think this is too easy.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Well, anyone wants to do the multi-node, then feel free. That was the end. Any questions?
So this was a single node deployment?
Yeah.
On your laptop? Or
No, this is running at packet.net,
on Pocket.
a bare metal hosting.
Right.
So I did at the start, I typed Terraform apply,
Yeah.
enter, and that set this up.
Do you agree when you want to do a real test,
Yeah.
OpenStack test, you at least need 6 nodes?
Well, okay, no, we do 5.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Including self-storage.
But what I do is, see, this is, there's a couple of different types of bare metal hosts. This is a type 1, so it's a 32 gig, 8 core, 1 gig network. So I can use this to try out all my scripting. And once I know that the syntax is right and it actually starts, then I move it over to the $1.70 an hour systems
Yeah.
to actually then start putting some real load on it.
Okay, and when you have a production environment and you want to change it, for instance, you have a Ceph storage and
Yeah.
you want also add a Swift storage.
Yep.
How do you do that?
At that moment, I would phone Fairbanks.
So okay, I'm very fond of the autopilot mechanism.
Mhm.
So you have a GUI, you can decide it yourself.
Yeah.
And he does the autopilot does the scripting for you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much the same deployment. And then you have a deployment in say 6, 7 nodes, and you can change it afterwards.
Yeah.
So you can add a hypervisor, for instance, into a live environment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's good that you say that about the hypervisor, because one thing we might do at SBS
Mhm.
is we've got the choice. They're running VMware in production,
Mhm.
and we're doing OpenStack in development test.
Yeah.
So the bosses, they are like OpenStack already.
Yeah.
So they want to put OpenStack in production at some point.
Yeah.
So what we're thinking, there's 2 ways you could do that. We can either add VMware as a hypervisor
Yeah.
to OpenStack. That's one way of getting into production.
Yeah.
Because then you're using your existing VMware skills and knowledge and tools that everyone knows how to use,
Yeah.
but getting it running it faster because you're using OpenStack to steer it. Or we could just use Terraform to VMware, to actually skip OpenStack and use Terraform. But Terraform for VMware is a lot less rich than Terraform for OpenStack or CloudStack.
Yeah, what I experienced with the migration kind of part in service providers, it has to be, it may not be down,
Yeah.
and the IP addresses cannot be changed, so
Yeah.
it's pretty much always a live migration.
Yeah.
And that makes it,
Yeah,
This
no, I
is-
mean,
the simple deployment, it is, deployment is solved, you show it.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah. Fugo
Yeah.
is fighting exactly the same problems.
they have a big problem because they did it with Foreman, and they cannot do a live migration for that. So
Yep.
he has make so the best way to do this is make sure that you design it well,
Yeah.
and that you every half year you have to follow the OpenStack releases.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
otherwise you have to build it every time again.
yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I don't have the skills now to do that. If you were to ask me, say, like, you're the only person in the world that can do this for us, I would say build a new environment
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah, and we say in the SLA the upgrade cycles has to be solved. So the responsibility for the upgrade we take over. It is also a live migration, and the workloads that are running on an ESX farm or Citrix farm or whatever has to be converged automatically. So that is what I'm thinking about.
You could say, hey, since you want to go to cloud, your applications have to be cloud ready. Problem solved.
No, that is the problem not solved because you don't get the VMware customers, so you
Yeah.
have to solve it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but-
yeah.
You're mixing up 2 different things. You want to have VMware customers because you want to run business. That's one thing. And those customers are running applications, and part of those applications need fixed IP addresses. That is saying, like, I'm a caveman and I want to fly with your aeroplane in my cave. It doesn't work. So
Yeah.
Either you help them in your cloud by making something conventional there, in which it could exist, but you have to be very much aware that all their problems that they have, they're going to stay there. The next disaster recovery, whether you are in VMware or in OpenStack, oh, my fixed IP address. So yes, you can fix it, but actually you are migrating your conventional way of setting up things and configuring them, and if you're coding your application and blah blah blah, you're just repeating the same old stuff that you were not so happy with in a new environment. That's all that you do.
I don't think so.
I'm quite sure I could do this in Amazon, no problem. I can build this kind of flexible as een dakgoot zeggen we dan. I can do it in Amazon, it's no problem. I create my virtual network and here I go. I can have fixed IP addresses, I could connect it to my bedroom, no problem. Did I really improve something? No. I just moved the problem from A to B.
Yeah, and this is the same problem we're having at SBS. We've got this CI/CD infrastructure,
Exactly.
but the developers are just not onboarding enough. They're not understanding what the capabilities are. So there's actually, we warned them at the beginning, this is a big switch over for the developers to go to CI/CD, because they need to write their own tests, they need to write their own infrastructure definitions and in Puppet, they need to do stuff in Terraform. They're just not switched on to this kind of business model, if you want to call it cloud.
And maybe they're also used that their errors they're making in their application code are being caught by the testing team.
Yep.
Which is exactly what CI/CD doesn't do.
Yep.
You have to do that.
Yeah. Well,
You have to make your own.
they don't have a testing team, so they fix it in production, but yeah.
Right. Well, but that's
Sorry, but-
moving your problem from A
Yeah.
to B, but it doesn't really change the problem.
But a question over here,
Well, it was not really a question.
or point.
The Terraform is the same as the RDO project stack pack?
No, 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 no.
It's almost the same environment you're getting.
Yeah, the problem
No.
is the same as different scripting.
RDO is from Red Hat.
RDO's from Red Hat. It's
Yeah.
Red Hat's distribution of OpenStack.
Yeah.
But there's a scient difference between the two, because Terraform spins up infrastructure.
Yeah, and what I've just done here,
Yeah.
I didn't use
Yeah.
Terraform to get OpenStack running. I used Terraform to start RDO.
Okay.
So basically, Terraform is layer 0, and RDO in this case, even though it's infrastructure still, is layer 1, because you're using Terraform to kick off the next layer, even though it's still really in layer 0. But for it's
From the infrastructure point of view, it's layer 1.
if you're doing DevOps as an ops guy, then you're using the dev way of working. So we have a CI/CD infrastructure for what we're building as an ops team. So what we're actually doing is when we commit a piece of code, it automatically moves to the Puppet server and has effect on our infrastructure. So when we're developing things for Puppet, we do it on our local desktop and we think, okay, now it seems good. Then we push it to the cloud and it does extra tests there. So we as ops guys are doing CI/CD, which causes a chicken and egg problem, because when you're trying to make a CI/CD environment for developers, you need to CI/CD your own develop environment first.
But happy to go more into Terraform when we're
Yeah, sure.
having pizza. Any last questions? Okay, then over to you. Thank you.
Koffie, denk ik.
Altijd goed.
Ja.